Good morning, seventh graders. This is week 3. So for week 3, we're going to go back to operations with rational numbers and all about rational numbers, okay? We're going to start with integers on the number line. So when you have integers on the number line, the integers can be positive or negative, okay? So they can be positive numbers or negative integers and positive integers. And we're going to represent that with the number line model. So let's look at a couple of numbers. I want to plot the number 5 and a negative 5. Now, y'all know I like to use different colors, so we're going to go in with the different colors. So, sorry, my nose is itchy. All right, so where am I going to put a positive 5 on my number line? Put it right here. I'm just going to put a dot. Just going to make my marker dirty. And then I have a negative 5. Where am I going to plot a negative 5? Well, a positive 5 is not the same as a negative 5. Remember, we've talked about that. They're not the same number. If I have $5 in my bank account and my friend has negative $5 in their bank account, who has more money? If you're in the negative, that means you don't have any. And not only do you not have any, you have less than having 0. So you actually owe the money. So you have to give somebody that much money just to get back to 0 and then start rebuilding your account. So hopefully that's something you'll learn when you get older about balancing your checkbook so that that doesn't happen. So I put it above here because it's just making my marker gross, and y'all know how I feel about stuff that is nasty. I don't like it, I can't do it, it's gross. So let me fix that real quick. And yes, ladies, Miss T did her nails again. Yes, I had to. All right, so we have a negative 5 and we have a positive 5. That's all you're doing when you're plotting your points on the number line. That's it. You're just finding where it's located and you're putting a point, okay? So that's the number line. That's like what you really need to know about the number line. The negative sign on the number line, on the opposite side of the number line. So you're always going to have your 0 in the middle, and then you're going to start from the left to the right, and you're going to count up. Those are your positive numbers. And then from here to here, you're going to start at 0, and you're going to go here. Because remember, we said the number line is what? It's distance and direction from 0. So 0 is kind of like home. That's your home plate. I don't know if any of you play baseball. Even when you are, even in the football field, it's 0. 0 is where you do the coin toss, and that's your focal point. Trying to think of a example for the ladies. Sorry, ladies, you got to start watching football or baseball because that's the best I got right now. So you're starting at 0. There's a distance and direction coming from both sides. So my distance from 0 and 3 is 1, 2, 3. I've gone 3 steps. My direction is I've gone in the positive direction. Over here, if I'm going to the store and I realize that I left something at home, I went to the store, but then I left something home, so I gotta go back. I gotta go backtrack. So on this side for your negatives, your distance is still going to be the same. It's still 3 spaces from 0, but now I've gone in the negative direction. So your positive and negatives are your direction, and your distance is how far you are from 0. We're getting ready to get into that when we talk about absolute value. Now the absolute value, and I don't know if you remember this, I'm gonna try and see if I can summarize my notes here, is distance and magnitude. So, well, yeah, it's the distance and the magnitude. We're just going to say distance from 0. Okay? Now you would also, we also can say the magnitude because we're saying how great is this number? We can also just say distance from 0. So I think for us, because we've always said distance and direction in class, I don't want to throw something different at you. We're going to stick with distance and direction, okay? So let's look at the first one. We have a -6. I have a -6, which is right here. My distance from 0 is how many spaces? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. So my distance from 0 to -6 is still just 6 spaces, not -6, okay? I know that can seem confusing, but remember, we're talking about distance. You cannot have a negative distance. You can have a 0 because you haven't gone anywhere, but you cannot have a negative distance, okay? You can have negative feet, not negative distance, okay? So my absolute value for -6 is just 6. So I don't want you to think, oh, it's a +6 and the absolute value is 6 spaces from 0. So just tell yourself, just because I see the number 6 without the negative sign does not mean that I want to think positive. We want to just think 6 spaces from 0, okay? So the opposite, so let's go from back here, -6. So sorry, we have -6. What is the opposite of -6? Well, the opposite of a -6 is here, a +6. Opposites and absolute values are not going to be the same. You're going to see that in a minute. They're not going to be the same, okay? That's why Miss T did not say, oh, it's the absolute value. I said it's the opposite. The opposite of a boy is a girl. We talked about that in class. The opposite of cold is hot. The opposite, okay? Now we have a +18. I don't have enough space for +18, but we have a +18. What is the absolute value of 18? The absolute value of 18 is still 18 spaces from 0. So it's still 18 because that's the distance from 0. However, we have the opposite. What is the opposite of a +18? You're going to get a -18 because they are opposite. See how I said that that's not always going to be the same? So don't just start writing in stuff. The opposite, the absolute value. They're different. +34, the absolute value is 34 spaces from 0. But the opposite of 34 is going to be a -34. You see how they're saying the opposite and they're not saying it's the same number? Even though the 34 here and the 34 here, they match, what makes them different is that negative sign. Remember we talked about how those numbers are not the same, positive numbers and negative numbers. Even though the numerical value, which is this 34, is the same, this is what makes them different, which means they are on opposite sides of the number line. It's almost like, I was going to make a Game of Thrones reference, but I probably shouldn't. But they're just opposite. They're not even playing on the same team. They're not rivals, but they're Cowboys and Redskins. Okay, go Cowboys. Just saying. So we have a -67. What is the absolute value of a -67? 67 spaces from 0. Distance from 0. In fact, we'll also put spaces from 0. Maybe that might be a little easier to remember how many spaces you have from 0. So we have 67, and then the opposite of a -67 is going to be a +67. Same thing here. We have a -128. My absolute value is 128 spaces from 0. And my opposite of a -128 is a +128. I left this space blank because we're going to do a number. Now, I don't know if you guys remember me saying it for like all year, but my birthday happened while we were on this break. Go March 30th. So Miss T, because you guys are always asking me how old I am, I'm going to tell you how old I am. Miss T turned the big 40. I turned 40. So what is my absolute value? A million is infinite, but just kidding. But for the math, it's 40. I am 40 spaces from when I started life, 0. From 40 from 0, okay? Now, what is my opposite? The opposite of a positive 40 is a negative 40, okay? So I hope that maybe but like kind of jogged your memory about how to do this. We're gonna do one example of how to model a mathematical problem real quick, and then I'm gonna get out of your way. All right, so let's say that I need to show -1 plus 4. Okay, so I'm going to start with my -1. And you guys should remember this. I'm going to go, I start at my 0, because remember, 0 is our home, that's home plate. I start at 0 and I move 1 space. I move 1 space, okay? On the next one, I have +4. I'm going to go where I stopped. So I stopped at -1. I'm going to go where I stopped. And I'm going to start my line, and I'm going to go in which direction? My plus sign means that I'm going in the right direction. So plus sign is to the right. Subtraction sign is to the left. That's something you should remember. So I'm going to go plus how many spaces? +4, to the right 4. So 1, 2, 3, 4, and stop. Now in class, if you remember, this is what Miss T did. I jumped. I did a jump. And then I would jump the opposite direction. I would say, oh, okay, I had to go this way. So I go 1, 2, 3, 4. Because for some people, our jumps made more sense. Alexa, stop. Sorry, y'all. So for some of us, the jump made more sense. You want to do another one real quick? Just to make sure we got it? Because Alexa interrupted us. We'll do one more. We'll do one with subtraction. Let's do one with subtraction. Okay. So we have a +1. So I'm going to go from my home plate and I'm going to jump 1 space. And then I have a minus. Subtraction means I need to go in the left direction. Subtraction is to the left. To the left. And I'm going to go to the left 4 spaces. So I'm going to go start from where I stopped. I'm going to go 1, 2, 3, 4. So what is my answer? My answer is -3. Where was that? Okay? So hopefully, like I said, this kind of sparked something in your mind that said, oh yeah, I remember we did this because we did it with red and yellow crayons. If you need red and yellow crayons, red and yellow marker, red and yellow something, use it. There's no harm in using it. I want you guys to be able to remember what we did so that you will be successful, okay? If you have questions, make sure you post them on Google Classroom, or you can email me the question and I'll do another video trying to do clarification, okay? Then there will be notes that are similar to this that are going to be uploaded to Google Classroom. And like I said, just do your best. Just do your best. If you already have these notes, the title was integers on the number line. If you actually have your notes at home, look that one up because we did that, okay? And I will see you guys in the next video.